Live from the Icebox Studio in Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania. It's the Bill and Corey Show. I'm Bill.
And I'm Corey.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Bill and Corey Show. Once again, I'll remind you that we have the YouTube live chat enabled. So if you have any questions, just type them in there and hopefully we'll get to them. Got some good questions this week, Corey. First one's my question. How do you properly purge a panel when removing it from gas service? Pulling it up. Okay.
That's a heavy hog.
Yeah, it's a big, heavy one.
Yeah.
This is actually a switchover panel that was installed in a gas cabinet. Let's see how long you can hold it up. See how it's actually installed in a gas cabinet, and the customer wanted to send it back to us for some modifications. And this panel, it's carbon monoxide. That's toxic and flammable. It's probably bigger hazard flammability than toxic, but you need to purge it out with nitrogen to make sure you get the gas out before you ship it. And there's some different issues with that. Our biggest issue is we have, these are emergency shutoff valves. They're normally closed pneumatically operated valves. And you need to, when you're purging out the panel, you got to remember to have these valves open. So all it takes is just some pneumatic pressure, about 80 psi, to open them up so you can properly purge out the pigtails. The pigtails have check valves in the end. These are CGA 350s. So you probably don't have and shouldn't have a 580 to 350 adapter, so it's going to be hard to bring in nitrogen here. Different places you can bring in nitrogen. These are ports that go to pressure switches. So you could install nitrogen in either side to get your nitrogen in there to purge out, or you could bring it in through a vent valve. You bring it in through a vent valve, I suggest you have isolation valve here and a little vent valve here, so you can have actual use of the vent valve. And you could do what's called a line purge. A line purge will purge gas through the line, and you'd have, probably the best thing is to vent it in the outlet of the line regulator. So you could put nitrogen coming in, like, let's say this side, because it's closest to me. So you'd open the valve and just kind of purge it out and purge this up your, this is the cabinet, you purge it up your exhaust stack. So that's initial, but there's dead legs you have to kind of clear out, the flex hoses and like a little bit of dead leg there. So you do what's called a cycle purge. So you'd pressurize it up 50 to 100 psi, let it settle for like a second or so, and then vent it down, and then you just repeat that.
Has nothing to do with bicycling, though.
Nothing to do with bicycling. Okay. So yes, you'd probably do it 7 to 10 times would be probably good for this kind of panel. And of course, you have to have these open. And you want to have it totally purged down when you send it. And of course, you want to cap your outlets so they don't get damaged during shipping, because you don't want the threads get damaged.
Are there any instructions on how to cycle purge anywhere?
Yes, we do have.
Wow.
We do have some instructions on how to cycle purge on our Specialty Gas Equipment Tech Support YouTube channel. You can find links to that on our online stores, store.mathesongas.com. So that's it for this question. Next question's for Corey.
Yes, it is. I got to turn it around.
Okay,
there we go.
Okay, how does my 3066A 580 regulator have a 3,000 psi limit when the regulator is rated to 7,500 psi?
It's a great question. I actually love this question. This is a question I get a lot, and it's a really good question. And it also makes me happy because our warning labels actually work. You know, so good, always good to hear about that.
That people read them.
Where people read them. So this is our 3066 regulator. It is a CGA 580 right here, and it has a very robust valve coming out of it because this regulator is rated to 7,500 psi-G. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but the general rule with pressure systems is you're limited by your weakest components. And so in this case, the CGA 580 can only go to 3,000 psi-G. And even then, well, we don't, and sometimes it'll happen though, the gauge will also be changed to say a 4,000 psi-G or 3,000 psi-G gauge to more reflect what could be in the cylinder. And so that could be a limiting factor as well. So in this case, the CGA 580 can only go up to 3,000 psi. Now, You should always consult with your cylinder supplier, your gas supplier, and find out what CGA is in there, because it could be a CGA 680, which is for a 3,500 or 4,500 psi cylinder, or a CGA 677, which is for really high pressure 6,000 psi cylinders. And then this one would be good. But again, for the 580, you can also use it because this is a high delivery pressure regulator. So even though it's for 3,500 psi, it's not, or 7,500 psi, it's not crazy to put a CGA 580 on it, because you may want 2,000 psi-G or 1,500 psi-G coming out of your cylinder to use. And in that case, this valve would be the one to use, or this regulator, excuse me.
Correct. Yeah, and the CGA 680 and the CGA 677, those are for inert gases.
Oh yes, inert gases specifically. Yeah,
like
you don't. Do they do any other higher pressure?
Yeah, they do. There's other for gases like oxygen or hydrogen, flammable gases.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then we're going to go down, and Corey gets the next question, this one. And it's, how do I tell apart, I'll grab the little adapters, the inlet and outlet adapters for an FM 1050 rotameter.
And as you probably already guessed, this is our FM 1050 rotameter. And as you can see in the back is where the connections are, so that you can, you put, for this one, the inlet is right here, the outlet is right here. Now, for this specific question, there's a valve end, and you can see the valve. And there's a seal end on the top.
There's a little jack screw in there.
Little jack screw in there to hold, holds everything together. And that is how we identify the ends of a rotameter. So, and in this case, we have these adapters right here. As you can see, this is for it goes into it. It has a nice little rubber, for lack of a better word, seal. Probably something like a Viton seal typically.
That would be a Buna for brass.
Buna, okay.
Typical.
Oh yeah, Buna for brass, yes. Yeah. So as you can see there, you can get these all in different, you can get these adapters, and this end goes in different sizes. You can get 1/8 inch, you can get 1/4 inch, you can get it with tube end fittings or compression fittings, and then you can easily take this out and add the new adapter to it.
Yeah.
And we sell these on our online store.
So there's a difference between them. So
Yes.
the seal end is kind of flat.
Yes.
The valve end, you can't see this. We can't get the graphics up this week. But the valve end has a little cup to it on the fitting, so it's a little bit longer, and it's got a cup, and that holds the orifice for the valve.
Yes.
So if you tried to, it wouldn't work properly if you tried to swap them around.
Yeah, so if you took this out and swapped these two around,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work because it's not going to seal properly, because if you can look closely, you can see one is taller than the other.
Your eyes are better than mine if you can see that.
Yeah, see?
Okay, that's good. Okay, next one's a regulator gas recommendation. This is a question for me. Can you recommend a pressure regulator for these mixtures? 100 ppm, 1,2 dichloroethylene and nitrogen. And the other mix is 100 ppm trimethyl fluoro silane balanced nitrogen. Or it could be, you could also call it fluoro trimethyl silane.
Well, everybody knows that.
And that's just if you want to write it down, it's C3H9. It's got an F in there for fluorine and Si, silicone. So these are, you probably classify these in the same category as volatile organic compounds.
VOCs.
VOCs, we talked about that in previous weeks. And so with those, you want to have a low dead volume regulator. And, previously we showed a really tiny regulators, but because this is 100 ppm, you can get away with this is our 3570 series. It's our stainless steel mini reg.
It is pretty small.
It is pretty small. Yeah, and this will work well. And these typically, you can get it with an option with a valve on the outlet or different compression fittings. You're analytical, you're probably going to want an 1/8 inch compression fitting on here. So, but that also brings up an important thing to talk about is a selection guide for regulators. We've got on our online store, we've got a regulator guide. It's very helpful. So you go to store.mathesongas.com. If you go to the specialty gas section, it's right on the top bar, the regulator guide. You can also find it in the Help Center. And that has a really nice list of common gases these really aren't that
I was
common.
going to
so
say,
it
is
won't be on-
dichloroethylene on the list?
It's 1,2-dichloroethylene.
1,2. I'm sorry.
No, it's not on that.
Not
I
on
don't
that
think
list.
it's on the list.
Okay.
I'd have to double check. But some of the more common gases that would use, and it has a chart. Yeah, well, it has a link to the catalog page for that
Yes,
gas.
it does.
So if you want to look for information on, oh yeah, I want to know about chlorine. What's the vapor pressure of chlorine? Click on that, and you get all information, ordering information, and important information.
It's an exciting read whenever I click on those.
Okay, and and it'll give suggestions for single stage regulators, dual stage regulators, and we split it into purities. And
by no means is the regulator listed the only one that can be used as well. It's just the best one based on the limited,
Yeah, that's our recommended
our
one.
recommended one.
And then if you look further down, this is kind of part of it's kind of a two-part question here. Because this is the other question that kind of merged with this. I was talking about, we have a printed guide to regulators. It's kind of like the old printed version. And talks about different things about.
Is this what happens when you print out PDFs?
Yes, this is what happens when you print out. Yes, you can print out PDFs. It's got charts, it's got color stuff, it's got little diagrams of regulators and explains different things, talks about flow curves and all sorts of stuff. It's a very nice guide. You can find a link for that in our regulator guide. Right below the gas selection is some links to some of our.
I even use it sometimes to remind me of things.
Yeah, old catalog. So some of the old catalog pages that are good resources are in there too. And of course we do have links to the videos there.
Yes, as well. Including the Bill and Corey show.
Yeah. Well, not in the regulator guide.
No, okay.
We got the regulators for regular people on there. It's a very popular video.
Yes, it's a good. I like, and the name is great. I think that the name catches people.
Yeah, I think so. It's shooting up the charts.
It is.
But yes, you can check out all our videos. I just loaded some new ones this week, including one about switchover pressure bleed, and you can find that on our Matheson Specialty Gas Equipment Tech Support YouTube channel. It's quite a mouthful. But if you just search for that, you'll
rewind the tape, re-listen to it.
Yeah, rewind the tape, listen to it.
And then write it down slowly.
Yeah, okay. And it doesn't look like we have any questions that came in this week. So that's all we have for this week. So tune in again next week for another episode of the Bill and Corey Show.
Set your VCRs.